Hello there, my name is Mandy Rice, and I have been a partner in ministry with White Oak Christian Church for 4 years now. If you are following along with the WOCC Bible reading plan, we will be focusing our time and attention on Luke 13, 6 through 19. Here, we will be reading about one of the healing miracles that Jesus performed, this one being on a Sabbath, when religious leaders of the time were watching, and they called Jesus out for, quote, working on the Sabbath. They very much scorned or scolded him after performing a miracle, but it was because of their religious rules. Now, I encourage you to read through these stories on your own to allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you, because it will speak to you and it will be unique to you. So what I share today may resonate, but the Holy Spirit is going to say even more. Today, I'm going to focus on verses 15 through 17, and I'll be reading from the Message translation starting in verse 15. But Jesus shot back, "You frauds! Each Sabbath, every one of you regularly unties your cow or donkey from its stall, leads it out for water, and thinks nothing of it. So why isn't it at all right for me to untie this daughter of Abraham," who he healed, right, "and lead her from the stall where Satan has had her tied these 18 years? When he put it like that, his critics were left looking quite silly and red-faced. The congregation was delighted and cheered him on. So what is this passage saying? Well, this passage seems to have many layers to it, but something that sticks out to me is that Jesus was no softy when it came to delivering his message, both in action and in word, calling some pretty important people frauds. Like, that's gutsy, right? But more so, it's saying that the religious rules surrounding Sabbath at this time had been skewed in such a way that it distanced people from seeing the very obvious, at least about God, that to love and serve someone is not breaking a rule, and it certainly isn't looked down upon by God. It's apparent that we've got our priorities mixed up if we put ourselves into the shoes of the religious leaders in this passage. What does this passage mean? Well, it actually is very similar to and reminds me of an episode on The Chosen that I watched recently, where Jesus was in a very similar situation, healing someone on the Sabbath. And this time a disciple asked him afterward, "Why didn't you just wait 30 minutes for Sabbath to be over before you healed him?" And Jesus' response was, "Sometimes you gotta stir up the water." Jesus wasn't just healing. He was changing the status quo. He was showing people how to rise above religion to get to him. So what does this tell me about God? This passage tells me that God is so wise, and his love for us, for you and me, is more and bigger and deeper than my brain can comprehend, because of how intricate his plan was through Jesus. It also tells me that God uses an act of love through the miracle Jesus performs to tear down walls built by religion, and to show us also how to overcome Satan through Jesus. So although Jesus' words to the religious leaders were strong, it was all rooted in the one huge act of love towards the woman that he healed. What does this passage tell me about people? It tells me that we cling hard to rules and formulas and patterns and ways of solving problems because it gives us some semblance of control in what can be a very unpredictable and scary life on this earth. And part of me thinks, well, who can blame us, right? And yet it seems that God doesn't, because his grace is abundant and renewed every day. How should I live my life based on what I have read? When I am searching for solutions or answers, which I find myself doing that often, whether that's how to handle a new phase my kids are going through, right? Like, I just need a formula on how to parent or how to approach a social situation or how best to find balance in life. Instead of reaching for a step-by-step formula or a plan with clear rules and regulations, to instead rely on love. To use Jesus as my example because he is the perfect example, and to rest in the peace that is striving to be like him. So I'd love to ask you, in what areas of your life are you searching for concrete answers or step-by-step formulas to follow, grasping for control? Could the lack of a clear answer on your terms, right, an answer on your terms, could that be God pushing you to see that the answer is in Jesus? And how might using Jesus as your example be the exact answer you're looking for?